Diamonds and Gold. This is. I personally love Diamonds and Gold. It was one of the ones that I loved pretty much as soon as I heard it back 4 or 5 years ago. It's definitely not a classic. Like if I had to sell 3 songs from this album, Diamond and Gold wouldn't be on it. But it's it's lovely, lyrically evocative collection of just poetic lyrics. Really, it's funny though. Just like broken glass and rusty nails. Tom just has this great way of informing you so economically that from the very first words that this song it's not about roses or daisies. It's also interesting that broken glass and rusty nails is part of the song Just the Right Bullets on the Black Rider, which is the standout track on that album. Spoiler alert, that's going to be my song of the album.
If Adam's still listening, there's a little Sam teaser for you. Yeah, I agree actually. I feel Kathleen's hand in this song quite a bit actually. I think that the economy, as you say, quite rightly so, like Tom is a poet and he writes with a poet's brevity, and he definitely understands that the power in lyric writing and just creative writing as a whole comes through a focused, precise element to how you're actually describing things. And I like the broken glass and rusty nails. I love the closing lines that stanza though. Say goodbye to the railroad and the mad dogs of summer and everything that I know. It's beautiful. It's really beautiful. And the chorus as well is fantastic. What some men see, I always thought some men will do it for diamonds, and the actual lyric is what some men will do here for diamonds. So it's kind of putting it into a certain place rather than a general thing. So less about what men or what humankind will do for money, and more that what this place here that Tom is building will do, and that gives it a certain a more vital sense.
Yeah, like I do like how this song is. It's about low lives in low places, but they are trying to go straight to the top, as it were. To pardon the pun,
Rumba.
But New York is the perfect locale to highlight this dichotomy between the rich and the poor, really. So it's something else that came up on my newsfeed the other day. It's actually apparently more of a shrewd business move now to invest in Lego rather than gold, as it has less of a depreciation value.
Right.
So this song might have to be called Diamonds and Lego in a future episode.
Yeah.
Lego. The marimbas are back to meet Tom's contractual marimba quota. They're back in moodily atmospheric force, and it's just he takes advantage of so many just different sounds. It's brilliant, and it's non-stop as well. Like no 2 songs in a row at least are alike.
No, it's not. And this one is a little kind of olive branch to a new listener, because the chorus is some people do over diamonds. It's very chorus, very sing-songy. I love the fact that it counts down 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, and it gives way to quite a weird landscape, especially if you listen to it the first time. Ribbo's guitar feels like a grasshopper or some sort of insect, like climbing and chanting. Like it's all very typical Waits by this point, but it's all very enjoyable. What I can't get enough of, and what is one of my favourite parts of the album, in the second verse when Tom's saying there's a hole in a ladder, where Ribbo's guitar's like coming with him, and it's like da, 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 and he's like mad as a head, and it's just it's hard to kind of replicate by singing it, but just listen to that second verse, Diamonds and Gold. I love the way Ribbo's guitar zigzags and climbs over Tom's vocals. It sounds absolutely brilliant, and
it's like the trumpet in Singapore.
Yeah,
like he like we've mentioned it several times on the podcast before, but just those bits where you don't know where Tom's vocals start and the melody and the musical melody ends. Really, like there's just this meshing nature that is unparalleled, really. In any
there is. It's very impressionistic. This song, he's just kind of throwing things at you, but there's always this constant theme of sort of like what people will give for gain or for unruly gain. I just adore this track, really. I mean, Barney does say that it's one of the more maligned tracks purely by virtue of being after Big Black Mariah, but I don't really understand his argument, because it's an album, everyone listens to every song. Like, what are you saying? Like, if you know an album, you know every song as well as the other song. You don't not listen to one just because it's after a Keith Richards track, or at least sensible people wouldn't. And this is a really good song. Mark Ribot again shines, and I don't shudder to think what would happen if he wasn't on this album, but I definitely think the reason why this album's such a big success for me personally is because these songs just have that extra element now. They threatened it with Swordfish, and Fred Tackett and the other players on Swordfish did a fantastic job. I believe it was Fred Tackett on Down, 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 which is a brilliant guitar performance from Swordfish, and there's others I'm sure that I'm missing, but Underground as well, of course, is brilliant. But yeah, it's nice trills. Tom talks about Napoleon as well, who gets a few mentions on Rain Dogs, actually.
Yeah, he's credited for the cover illustration for The Heart of Saturday Night, and is the drunk lying on the floor on the front cover of Nighthawks at a diner.
Oh, there we go.
Yeah, and he's also mentioned in Time, Napoleon is weeping in a carnival.
Yeah.
Like obviously, like Tom just loves to put little references for his friends in there. In Cemetery Polka, which could lend itself towards your more fantastical, fictional encounter of the story. He plays accordion for Mr. Vice, as in Chucky Vice.
Yes.
But yeah, Diamonds and Gold. There's not particularly a whole wealth of info about this song. It's just it does. If you had to pick a filler track for this album, this could be a contender.
Definitely not. This is a fantastic song.
I don't go back to it. I'm not saying it's bad. I'm just saying I don't seek it out. I do like it more than Big Black Mariah, though. I must say that.
Yeah, again, it's the relationship between Tom and Mark in this song. It really feels that Tom is singing with another voice, not just him at the piano, but a whole new way of collaboration, like having this guitar player on board. And whilst the song itself maybe is a little bit by numbers for a Tom song, and it doesn't quite plough the newer ground, but I don't know, just the imagery, the kind of the heart, like it feels a little Hang Down Your Head to me, and I feel like it's a good song to have before Hang Down Your Head, because it gets you into a more kind of relaxed mode where images are coming at you at a slightly slower pace. You have time to gather your thoughts. It's less a kind of erratic song. I mean, what do you think about Hang Down Your Head, Sam?
So yeah, let's just get one thing out of the way. I'm going to need some documentarian proof that Tom has had a meaningful relationship with a woman called Marie. Because if I don't, then I'm just going to accuse him, and I'm calling you out, Tom Waits, right now, that you don't know anyone called Marie, but you wrote yourself into a corner. Hang down your head for me. Hang down your head, and you just threw Marie on the end there to fit into the rhyming scheme. That said, that's the only negative thing I'll probably have to say about this song. It's got some beautiful, subtle little accordion. The solo is just a fucking work. It's so fitting and just conveys the tragedy of the song. It's a great remorseful song about that kind of like redemption. It's also interesting because, as we mentioned before, it's written or co-written by Kathleen Brennan. So it has that the start of a great collab. But like you say, I reckon that credit of Kathleen Brennan could possibly go on any of his songs, really, just even in terms of just influence. But yeah, this is a great song. I really like it. It's pretty simple. It's not the most challenging song on the album, but it's not quite Downtown Train either.
No, I adore this song. I really, really love this song. I first grew to love this song through the VH1 Storytellers thing as ever, because Tom just plays it on piano. And the second he plays the piano and he goes, he sings it more Tom Waitsy than he does in 1984, 1985. As he sings his throaty Hush a Wild Violet thing, you can hear in the live audience the genuine joy in the applause. People are so happy that he's playing this song. And that always stuck with me. That always comes through. And I think it comes through because, especially for me when I first listened to it, and the Rain Dogs version is a little bit more upbeat, a little bit rockier. It's got a lovely warm organ and a busy, scratchy Mark Ribot guitar. Mark Ribot not really being Mark Ribot in this point, like being a bit more kind of conventional and fulfilling that lead guitar position when necessary, showing, really how versatile he is. Because that's rare. That's rare to be able to act in such a kind of modern pop context as Hang Down Your Head, which kind of, I mean, the fact that Downtown Train, which is a very similar song, was covered by Rod Stewart, shows you the kind of, area of interest that these songs are garnering from people. But I think Mark Ribot is fantastic. But there was something in the fact that the chorus rhymed so well that made the song for me, which is such a kind of silly thing to say, but it was, especially as someone who was getting into Tom Waits and didn't have the kind of, I'm not saying I'm like this grand experimental music listener, I'm not, I rely on a lot of comfort zones like everyone does, including Tom Waits, but back then, something like Rain Dogs was very challenging for me to listen to, and I found that I don't really like when sorrow rhymes with tomorrow. I really don't. That really bothers me. A band that I really like, Alter Bridge, who I'm sure some people might be into, they are some of the worst. They are some of the greatest guitar players and singers, but they are some of the worst lyricists, and they will often rhyme sorrow and tomorrow and baby and today and all that kind of crap. And through them, I've always hated sorrow tomorrow because they rhyme it quite frequently. In like 2 or 3 songs, they rhyme tomorrow with sorrow. And when that happened, I was like, But then when me happened, I was like, please be a rhyme. And it was. It was help down your head, hung down your head, Marie. So regardless of who Marie is, there's something so traditional about this song. Much like Downtown Train, there's a lead line playing off the soft chorus. It gives wings and shape to the song, the absolutely beautiful melody. But it's worth keeping in mind, Sam, that I think the reason that Kathleen is co-credited on this song only on the album, which is quite weird because obviously, as we said in the Swordfish episode, she is kind of the right-hand woman, as it were. She's not only his wife, but she's his first lady, if we're going to kind of, do a sort of presidential metaphor there, Hillary and Bill of the obscure sororal world. I think Kathleen's given credit here specifically because she wrote the melody supposedly, but she kind of didn't really. The song, and this is freely admitted, this is acknowledged, the song basically of the chorus, the Hang Down Your Head for Sorrow, is based upon a song called Tom Dooley, which I'm not sure if any of our listeners will be aware of. We'll play a clip in a second just because I appreciate you'd really want to hear this. Basically, it's a song about someone called Tom Dooley, unsurprisingly. And Tom Dooley, this is from the Wikipedia, is an old North Carolina folk song based on the 1866 murder of a woman named Laura Foster in Wilkes County, North Carolina, allegedly by Tom Dooley. The song is best known today because of a hit version recorded in 1958 by the Kingston Trio. The version was a multi-format hit which reached #1 in Billboard and the Billboard R&B listing and appeared in the Country Music Top 20. It fits within the wider genre of Appalachian sweetheart murder ballads. So what I'll do now is I'll just play you a quick clip and then we'll discuss it. Here's a clip.
Hang down your head, Tom Dooley. Hang down your head and cry. Hang down your head, Tom Dooley. Poor boy, you're bound to die.
Okay, yeah, so that's Tom Dooley. I found that just on YouTube just by searching Tom Dooley. It's actually a video version by someone called Benjamin Musser. He said that he made it as a second project for his video editing class, and it's got 906,000 views.
Wow.
So, yeah, it's pretty cool. But the top comment, quite cruelly, is, love the song, dislike the video. So it's just like, I don't really know why someone said that. But, yeah, check that out. But what do you think, Sam? I mean, it's interesting to hear the kind of, the seeds, as it were.
Well, it's interesting because the words for this song were never printed in the Rain Dogs lyric sheet, perhaps because it's considered too, risky of the undeniable similarities to this
It's an
song.
homage, I guess. I mean, Tom's been doing this in certain guises his whole career. What makes this different from a nursery rhyme, I guess.
Yeah, well, there's no sense of stealing, as it were. I mean, no. He says in that CBC interview, he just says, he was walking down and he heard Kathleen whistling that, and he says, "What the hell is that?" And she said, "Oh, I don't know. So I made it. So I put it down, took it to the studio. While I'm writing and recording, everything you seem to pick up during the process somehow ends up on there." So we've said before, he is a slave to his own influences. He's very Marxist in that sense. Like, he can't seem to keep out parts of his own life whether he wants to or not, and you can't fault him for that.
No, definitely not. And I think Kathleen again is here though, because in these lyrics especially, and the reason I love Tom's lyrics so much, we've discussed this so many times, but the poetry of Tom Waits. And if you read these lyrics, if you just look at these lyrics in front of you, there's 5 stanzas, 2 choruses, and 2 kind of, I guess, 2 verses and then a bridge. But basically, the thing that you notice is words get repeated. So 8 lines start with the word hang, 6 lines start with the word hush. We also have tear twice as well, and then we also have you and but and I, and it just gives this kind of consistent layer to the song. This kind of, it's resonant and wild, and I love the idea of bands of golds and wild violets and the appeal directly to the listener. Hush, you're in a story I heard somebody told. The idea that we're hearing the story of this person that somebody told, but this person is the person being told that they're in a story. Like, there's this odd Inception level kind of, Cobb sort of layer to it, But nonetheless, there's also this very conventional sorrow tomorrow, Marie, me sort of thing, But the thing that I love so much is the break with Hush by But, which is in the 4th stanza. So it's hush my love the rain now, hush my love so true, hush my love a train now, but it takes me away from you. I'm still trying to work out what these lyrics truly mean. They feel a little dictated by the melody, not in a bad way. I mean, songs demand that sometimes, and you have to sacrifice narrative clarity for the arc of what feels good to hear. But that it's just a wildly good song, really. It's a classic in my eyes. It's absolute Tom Waits classic.
You know, we're obviously going to get into the genesis of how Downtown Train was created, but this also feels at least a cousin to the idea that Tom is just basically saying, you know what, I don't need to be weird if I don't want to. I could happily make money just writing songs for someone else. I think there's a certain security he has in his ability to write songs, that like he knows that if the next album bombs and then the next one bombs in a sort of one from the heart box office sort of fashion sense, he's not at risk of going without work.
Oh, totally true. Yeah, and like he's still. It's a mainstream song both in its lyrics and its chorus and the way it works, but also in the fact that, you know, it has a guitar solo, which a lot of radio songs demand. And it's one of the best. Ribot's solo, it's just based around a few notes. Like, if you look at the tablature of this solo, if you just look at how he works on the fretboard, his hand moves very little. It's based around a central note, and it's just very sort of... just kind of grinds out this really kind of simple little, almost like pentatonic double stop kind of thing. And it comes after the first chorus as well, which is brilliant. Like, so many rock songs, the solo is the be-all and end-all of the song. So you have the two verses, the chorus, the bridge, the solo, the break. You know, the solo is the apex if you're going on a sort of like save the cat act structure kind of thing. And what's great is that on this, you get the solo. This song's not even 3 minutes, I don't believe. And then you get the solo like a minute and a half in. And it just brings you back into that gorgeous chorus again. All the lyrics are wonderful to listen to. Tom's delivery is not like this. You know, it's probably one of his more gentle deliveries. It's Closing Time-esque almost, maybe a little harder than that just by age and wear and tear. But it still has those same goals. It's great. And regardless of Tomorrow's Sorrow, I am just fully engaged with this song. I just love it.
And Me Marie for me.
Yeah.
Very much how, you know, we had to be brought down into Hang Down Your Head by Diamonds and Gold. I think...
I disagree with it you're being brought down by Diamonds and Gold, but yeah.
No, I don't mean being brought down, just
the
like...
riches.
You're slowed down, like the pace of the album is dictated...
Oh, sorry.
Yeah.
Not critically.
The pace of the album...
But with this, actually, you are critically, to be fair. In the
same sense, Hang Down Your Head kind of gets you ready for the next song, Time. Tom calls time a precious commodity, and this song is quite precious, actually. I think a lot of people, especially like as the ending to the side to disc one, you know, a lot of people will just have that sort of relationship to this song. And you know, anyone who, like, you know, when you bump into someone and, you know, they find out you're a Tom Waits fan, and, like, you know, everyone knows time. Like, anyone can sing along to this, really. It's just that I hate using the word catchy, because it's not catchy in the sort of Girls Aloud sense. It is
the sound of the underground, but in a different sense.
This has got some of the best lyricism on the album as well. Like the rain metaphors are just nailed on this song. We've got they sound like a round of applause, and it's raining hammers, and it's raining nails. Yeah, like you know, the weather is just so evocative on this album. And there's the adorable twinkle of the xylophone. Like this is one of those great Waits and songs, you know, and but it somehow defies being boring or repetitive, really.
I think it's both boring and repetitive, actually. I have to say. Not a fan of this one. He breaks into this Springsteen lyricism where he kind of gives you elements of places, but it's not fun to listen to. Okay, so the smart money's on Harlow. What's Harlow? I don't know. The moon is in the street. Okay, where's the metaphor for the moon? Like, I know it sounds like I'm picking here, and like I am to a certain extent, but for me, it's just a little too long. There's a fun weave of instruments. There's a nice concatenation of styles as everything piles over each other and broods to that chorus. And it's interesting that this chorus isn't "and it's time." The chorus is him repeating the word time, and then essentially the chorus is "and it's time that you love," isn't it? It's an imperative to the listener rather than him just like closing time, or there's a sense of finality to it or anything like that. I think what's interesting about the song is that obviously there's a lot of guitar on this song, and Tom apparently plays all the guitar.
On this one,
because I did check the liner notes because I was interested. It wasn't Mark Ribot and it wasn't Robert Quinn, neither is it Chris Spedding. So therefore it must be Tom. and there's two guitars. There's the nice rolling chords that form out that delicate kind of searching bass on which he kind of sings, and then time accordion coming in, which is really nice. And then there is just like a solo guitar, just kind of like doing interesting Mark Knopfler-esque little flurries of lyrics and lines there. And I'm like, is this Tom? Like, I really want to see him play lead guitar. You know what I mean? I really want to see him occupy that space. And instrument-wise, then, it's a fun listen. I just think that as a song, it's kind of in that blind love area. It's that kind of slower ballad that is just kind of there and doesn't really demand the listener to sit there and pick it apart. It's just kind of, I don't know, it's Kentucky Avenue for me. It's that kind of the Waits I don't like.
There's a couple of good images, like
yeah,
she said she'd stick around till the bandages came off. That's great. They all pretend they're orphans, and their memory's just like a train. Getting more train imagery. Like, there are fleeting bits that are, you know, I wouldn't say some of his best work, but you know, it's still damn good. We also have a mention of Matilda, bringing her back from Tom Trabot's Blues. We also have St. Louis, and again, can you mention the other 3 songs that mention St. Louis?
Didn't you ask me this prior?
Have we?
I think you maybe have, but I can't quite remember, so I'll go with it.
I may have, because one of them is the song we covered 2 episodes ago. Okay,
I can't remember that one, but I do remember Train Song was in there. And what was the other one then?
Hold On. And
Hold On.
It would have been. I would have asked you during I Beg Your Pardon.
I Beg Your Pardon. Oh man, One from the Heart. You know what? What a weird. I've been thinking about One from the Heart a lot recently. Actually, it's interesting, isn't it, as an album? It was definitely.
I couldn't imagine anyone like rushing out to physically buy it, though. You know what I mean?
If
like, I've got it on Spotify for free.
Are you going to get it on vinyl? You're going to have to, I guess.
Well,
should we discuss Christmas briefly as well? I guess. Just as we
maybe at the even after the album review before Real Gone.
Okay, I think that's a good idea. Yeah.
And after the cover.
I mean, the reason I'm pushing for Christmas is just purely because with time, it's really not a song that fills me with much. You know, I understand it. And like for it to be something that Tom writes at this time makes perfect sense, but it just doesn't. Like, it almost feels like he's going backwards to his balladeer times, but kind of using guitar, and I don't think that's the best way of going about it. Maybe this would sound better on a piano. Maybe this would sound better solo, but as it is, it just becomes a little bit of a slog, ironically, for a song.
Unless you've got anything else to say about this song.
None.
I think this song functions purely as a way to prop up the next song, because we are slowing down almost to a very self-reflective halt. You know, we're feeling very saccharine and sweet, and then out of nowhere, as you put on side 1, disc 2, this screeching, shredding accordion by a Will Schimmel just, you know, gives you this death rattle that is the accordion. That is the opening for Rain Dogs, the titular track. What a way to kick off disc 2, man.
Oh God.
This is again, I don't want to sound like I'm just sucking Tom off here, but this is a fucking amazing song. And what I was not expecting this one. Like, his ability to make me give a shit about accordion, like one of the most annoying instruments on the planet, the instrument of the annoying busker, normally sort of a 40-year-old man in a flat cap with a very glum look on his face, normally a big moustache. I do not like the accordion. This, though, is probably some of the best instrumentation I've ever heard. And it's just the intro to the song. Like, I know it comes back as a little reprise to the end, but it definitely leaves you wanting more. And this is probably entirely intentional.
It is so good. It's fantastic in of itself. It's just a piece of just the flurry of fingers and wheezes, and it's just so exciting and weird. And it really does feel like a curtain call on some old like Italian play or something, almost Shakespearean. Like the kind of before the chorus comes out, this is just the music they play as the second act, as it were, as we're coming back on the second side. You know, just a little kind of motif that just lets you back into the album sonically, and then it unravels, and then it just becomes this kind of incredible. You get the inside of broken clock imagery, and you have this, like, I always find it really interesting that that's the opening lyric, and the last song was called Time, and it's just this kind of like, one was a distillation of a moment, and this one's just throwing it out, because Ribbo's guitar, the bam bam bam, it's like this just drunk stegosaurus just clomping, you know, it's just coming wide and lackadaisical, but also quite sharp across you, and it's just forcing you back, and your back's against the wall, and Tom's screaming these lyrics at it, and then, like, you know, there's this sense of comradeship. I'm a rain dog too. There's like this mission statement element to it as well. It's
It did to me. How Lady Gaga calls her fans little monsters. I was thinking, like, was Tom trying to have t-shirts sold with I'm a rain dog too?
Yeah.
You're all my little rain dogs.
Hashtag rain. Yeah, I can see that. Definitely.
It's funny you should mention the bow bow bow, because like it does have that sort of very dog-like call and answer to it with the literal bow wow wow. Like Ribbo's guitar playing again, it just does that whole. It helps carry Tom without shouting, "Look at me, I was in the Rolling Stones." The marimbas are back as well, gives it that jaunty feel, which sort of mellows out the quite scary Bram Stoker's Dracula-esque sinister opening to this. But as I mentioned earlier, this is one of the few Tom Waits songs where I really do feel that the album version is wholly superior to any of the live versions he's done. And purely just because I don't think you can truly recreate what he gives us on the album live, really, with acoustics and stuff. Like, this is just such a personal experience. Like, when you put the song on, you are like transported to Tom's world in a way that probably is only surpassed in something like Singapore.
Totally.
And again, it's I think something that's been quite distinctive on this album so far is that the opening lines to most of these songs are fucking great. Like, this album is chock-a-block with great opening lines.
It's overflowing, yeah.
And just the ability to instantly like most of these songs is just, again, something that just it carries the whole album. And,
that's not to say that sonically this isn't quite a challenge. Like, when you first hear it, it is, the accordion of itself is maybe a bit of a new thing, and then just like the whole guitar and like the way Tom and the rhythm section deal with each other so well. And it's like, oh, how we danced and we swallowed the night, just the way the dun, dun, and you can hear Ribot like kind of doing little fills on the end and stuff, and just kind of really eking out the most kind of mischief they can get out of this entire song. It just feels like such a fun thing to play. And Michael Blair on the marimba is killing it as well. The opening blasts and yelps of this music, it's kind of like, it's, and the scream at the end, like, that's got nothing to do with the Shore Leave scream. Like, this doesn't sound like Tom Waits screaming. It sounds like a different scream. It's a very unique, like, single yelp.
Yes, it's like a rah. It's really odd. It's also a great title track that is spelt the same way as the album. Something we've been keeping a tab on. It's also great because it's a title track of Tom's that isn't particularly bad.
No,
it's one of the standout tracks on the album for once, which is quite cool. Coming off things like Foreign Affair and One from the Heart. Although you could possibly argue that Closing Time has the best title track.
Yes, I'll probably say that. I'll have to think on that a little bit, but that makes sense. Definitely not Small Change. Foreign Affairs isn't very good. Blue Valentine.
Heart Attack and Vine's okay.
Heart Attack and Vine's okay. What else have we got? Rain Dogs, Swordfish Trombones.
Bad as Me.
Bad as Me. Just Bad as Me. Yeah, I love. The thing is though, it's not even like there's that many great ones. It's just I really do like Closing Time, the song. I have a lot of place for it. But Rain Dogs, yeah, it's again not one of my maybe like my top.
It's got a fade out, Tom. This album's got a lot of annoying fade outs.
It does actually, which is just so undisciplined, really. But it's like it's a coward's way out. A fade out, really. I don't really know how fade outs work. Like, you wouldn't have a fade out in a book where the text just starts to grey out. You know what I mean? Like, you end it. It's a piece of art. Maybe on a live disc you can forgive
maybe you could say that's the better thing about the big time version. Like, it ends with this sort of accordion breakdown, doesn't it? And then it just goes da la la da bah, which has a bit more of a finality to it, I suppose. But
I like the Rain Dogs aboard a shipwrecked train. It's quite a nice kind of Tom Waitsy kind of image there. The relationship between Tom and Ribot. This is his final song on the album, by the way. So last you're going to hear of Mark Ribot, track 10 into a 19 album, which is kind of sad, really. But I think most of the songs, maybe he could have been on Knife and Hennepin doing something, but I don't know. It's up to him, really. But yeah, their relationship is perfect. There's the roar and thunder in the track as well. It all makes sense. And for Midtown to be afterwards also makes a lot of sense.
Midtown, Tom. Midtown.
Midtown. I've covered it a little bit, so I'll let you start with Midtown.
Midtown is an instrumental, as Waits says, in a disc that was kind of sent to radio stations as like a promo, which is just kind of called as him talking about his songs. I wish way more artists would do that.
Yeah, good, yeah.
Midtown is an instrumental. It's kind of like what it's like to get stuck behind a van or something when you have a brilliant idea. You were going to cross 29th Street and you were going to hit West Street and make it all the way up, but you're barking behind a truck and you're there for like a year. And like this does have that sort of frenetic energy that's been built up this whole album, and like it's a blast, really.
Yeah,
like,
it's just mad kind of 1960s Batman merged with kind of like the modern Metropolis. You know, I mean, it's worth pointing out, we said it in other episodes as well, that on the blog, which is tomwaitspodcast.wordpress.com, you can get articles that me and Sam have written, lists, and one of the lists is Tom Waits' best instrumental tracks that I chose, and this was one of my major picks, Midtown. I fucking love it. I say quote from the article, it's one of Tom's great madness tracks. Midtown, it feels like a collision of cultures, a vicious merging of propulsive roaring 20s newsbeat rhythm section beneath loud dueling horns that bellow and core aggressively. And then I just say it's Paul Hollywood, not him, from Great British Bake Off. Paul Literal, his name is Hollywood's his nickname. His trumpet and Bob Funk's trombone transcend their musicality as they battle. This feels more akin to the mating calls of demonic animals on some forgotten continent. Barely a minute in length, Midtown is the perfect shot to the heart, Sam.
Like, this is big shot. You know, I've made it, ma. Music. You know, like you're standing in, you know, in Home Alone 2 when he's standing in a limo eating pizza, like it's like that, like you can imagine some sort of Sopranos-esque montage to this. Like, why doesn't Tom do more soundtracks? You know,
yeah,
like
this is too mad though, don't you think? This is I think I've noted this is the craziest Tom's got so far musically.
This should have been the opening title music for what's that crappy Steve Buscemi gangster thing on Sky at the moment?
Oh, Boardwalk Empire.
This has been a great thing for Boardwalk Empire. A great, like, sort of, you know, way down in the whole
Boardwalk
type
Empire's
thing.
all right, man. Michael Shannon. Yeah.
This song though,
Stephen Graham. No.
Oh yeah, he plays Al Capone, doesn't he? Weirdly, some British thug.
Scouser. I do love Midtown. I just think some of the sounds in it like surprise me how aggressive and weird they are. Like they really are like fucking hell. What the hell's this thing like?
Well, like as we know, Tom, even from things like Nine Hogs at the Diner, he does a very good car impression. You know, but the brass in this, they are the cars. They are rushing past you. You can imagine yourself, you know, flying through the streets in some sort of Gatsby-esque jalopy, and you know the lights are going past you. It could almost have been in a decent version of One from the Heart if it hadn't have sucked. It's a great tribute to the Big Apple, you know, or maybe what it was, you know, so promising, so abundant. Like Tom is luring you into the trap that the lives of the characters in all the other songs seem to live. You know, like it's like saying, as long as you don't get into the specifics of the characters of the nitty gritty people of New York, and you just look at it in this Midtown sense, you know, it is the golden land of milk and honey. Really, like it you know, this place sounds great, but you know, obviously, even in the very next song, there's going to be that sharp Waits juxtaposition again. Like, you know, don't expect things to be good for long, even if they are good in this place. I do imagine a music video for this with some just great candid vivid shots of New York from inside a car.
That would be fun to do, even just to make a music video to Midtown. I agree, like any sort of New York kind of transition would be really good. It's interesting that you have Midtown, a completely wordless track followed by a spoken word track, almost you know what I mean, they kind of like brother sister kind of thing. They go together quite well. But what I love about Midtown is you have both the kind of crazy the crazy horns, and then beneath that you have a very tight rhythm section, a very kind of reliable kind of like taking you forward comic book style kind of, you know, throwback superhero sort of thing. It's a beautiful juxtaposition, and it ends on that na 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 na. It ends on a real kind of conclusive like riff.
Oh, there's a version of this that goes into Singapore, isn't there? I believe that's from the sort of, because we'll get into it in a month. But Big Time, obviously, there were lots more songs that were sort of shopped around during the live shows, and they kind of like, you know, pieced it together of just the best bits. But it's a shame the Midtown didn't make it on there really, because it's a great live version, and it is just Tom letting his band, again, like he does like to let people show off a bit in the live shows, and there's just blistering trumpet in this. It's just it's a very candid kind of thing really. Like this is not the very maudlin, daunting instrumentals of Swordfish.
This is not Cinny's Waltz.
This is Waits saying, side 1, disc 2, track 2. We're not showing any signs of slowing. Like
and kind of, if you take it in the CD format rather than the side format, similar to Heart Saturday Night, this is another song at the middle of the album that is kind of a breathtaker, sort of like a moment of just to capture this. And the fact that this song is in the middle of all of this just kind of adds to that sense of the city, doesn't it, and the urban landscape.
Definitely.
And then Knife and Hennepin, which is our first spoken word track of the album, our only one, if I'm correct, actually.
He has to, always put one in to, again, reassure us. It's the tango till they're sore of spoken word pieces. And
in an interview with Glenn O'Brien for Spin magazine, it's from November 1985, I mentioned this in the intro. Tom is asked, "Where's Hennepin?" And Tom answers, "Minneapolis, but most of the imagery is from New York. It's just that I was on Knife and Hennepin years ago in the middle of a pimp war, and Knife and Hennepin always stuck in my mind. There's trouble at Knife and Hennepin. To this day, I'm sure there continues to be trouble at Knife and Hennepin. At this donut shop, they were playing Our Day Will Come by Dinah Washington when these 3 12-year-old pimps came in chinchilla coats, armed with knives and forks and spoons and ladles, and they started throwing them out in the street, which was answered by live ammunition over their heads into our booth, and I knew our day was here. I remember the names of all the donuts: Cherry Twist, Lime Ricky, but mostly I was thinking of the guy going back to Philadelphia from Manhattan on the Metro line with the New York Times, looking out the window in New York as he pulls out the station, imagining all the terrible things he doesn't have to be a part of." So that's Knife and Hennepin, and Tom is just re-establishing himself as the kind of spoken word poet that he's explored a lot in his earlier career, but it's always going to be part of him, always that lyricist eye, and there's just fantastic fantastic ideas really throughout this. Lots of really great lines, and I love just little ones like "No one brings anything small into a bar here," which I'm not really sure what that means. I mean, obviously I guess it's kind of an idea for protection again, but there's just lots of ands in this song, lots of eyes, lots of listening. It's a shore leave. I think it's this album's shore leave in a sense, even though Claphan's musically is similar. It's the style of its telling that reminds me of it.
Yeah, it's just a great kind of recap, almost like a bit of and it, like say if Midtown's the intermission of the film, this is the recap. It reiterates all the events and themes that the album has given us thus far. How A Heart Attack and Vine has "There ain't no devil, that's just God when he's drunk." That's the key quote from the album.
Yeah.
I'd like to put myself out there and say Knife and Hennepin, where all the donuts have names like prostitutes, is the line from Rain Dogs. It's
okay.
It's fantastic. Obviously, you've mentioned what was it called? A lime
Ricky,
and Cherry Twist. I can imagine hiring Cherry Twist for $75.
Can you?
I hope Amy's not listening. It's a real leap with his play with soundscapes as well.
The army ant rhythm, the slow lumbering bass lines. There's a melody that crops up like a minute in that goes do 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 do, and it really comes out of the ether. You can hear it at the 40-second mark, really low frequency, and then it just rises up like steam. It's terrific composition.
We know Tom's messed with these oddball sonic patterns before, and he loves to make you say, "What the hell was that?"
Yeah,
but
not like Kathleen talking about "All Your Loving" or whatever that song was called. What's that song called? "Saving All My Loving for You." Probably the worst Tom Waits song.
Oh, really?
Maybe. We'll have to do a list.
She called it bullshit, didn't she?
She pretty much called him out for it, which was great. There's lots of good there's Tom doing city stuff, which we've heard a lot of. Bricks are all scarred with jailhouse tattoos, and everyone's behaving like dogs, which is great. But I really like the close of the first section, where he really impinges on the listener in the back of their ear. He's like, "And I'm lost in the window, and I hide in the stairway, I hang in your curtain, I sleep in your hat, and then no one brings anything small into a bar around here." There's that imperative sense that I hide, hang, sleep. I love it. I can't get enough of that.
It's weird though, because normally a lot of these weird sounds so far have been the backdrop of more dominant musical accompaniment, things like Shore Leave. But obviously, like, there is no real sort of beat or tune to sort of play along on guitar or piano here. It's a real sense of aural freedom for Tom, I feel. And it is the beginning of things like The Ocean Doesn't Want Me Today, or What's He Building in There?
Amazing. Yeah.
Just like his spoken word game is one of the few things that just he obviously gets, you can argue that he gets better throughout time, but his spoken word like objectively gets better with each album. Like it's just I love Ninth and Hennepin, and to go through the whole lyricism of the song, because again it is just a spoken word piece, I think might do it a bit of an injustice in a sense.
Yeah.
It is just a lovely song to listen to, and you do feel transported into Tom's world, and like you do see what he sees. Just the hiss of steam from the vent sets the tone perfectly, really.
Yeah, it does. And I just like to kind of almost defy you and read out quite a long section of it that I think is great. This is from the close of the song. A crumbling beauty, but there's nothing wrong with her that $100 won't fix. She has that razor sadness that only gets worse with the clang and thunder of the South Pacific going by as the clock ticks out like a dropping faucet, which during the song it kind of, you hear a dripping, like musical dripping, till you're full of rag water and bitters and blue ruin, and you spill out over the side to anyone who'll listen, and I've seen it all through the yellow windows of the evening train. And it's just, again, you get the sense of like, I forget the name of the protagonist that he plays during it, but Potter's Field, that sense of the all-knowing, omnipotent storyteller who, knows all these yarns. It's a never-ending thing for Waits that I, can't really get enough of. As you say, What's He Building in There is just a masterpiece of this, and this is like just as good, really. Less known, but just as good.
Totally, man. Totally.
And
now,
oh my God. No, not this song.
Danny O'Gorman, who will be joining us for, I believe, Bone Machine.
Bone Machine. Danny O'Gorman, good friend of the show, designed our thumbnail.
Our fantastic thumbnail. Big shout out to him there.
Yeah, amazing work. This
is his favourite song on the album, and I remember telling you about this about a weekend ago. Over the phone, and I had to go up to him and basically, look, I don't want to feel like I've caused beef between you and Quee, but I told him Gun Street Girl was your favourite song, and he kind of flipped out. Tom, what's wrong with Gun Street Girl?
There's 18 songs better than Gun Street Girl on Rain Dogs. It is the worst song. It's like there's certain things with Tom that as a Tom fan you just have to accept. Like, if you're not a fan of poetry, which I think we've established me and Sam both are, but if you're not a fan of poetry, then his spoken word tracks like Knife and Hennepin, as we discussed, you're not going to like, but they're going to keep coming because he likes doing it. And I have to accept that Tom is going to make these bluesy acoustic songs, these groove-based songs. He's going to make Get Behind the Mule. He's going to make 16 Shells. He's going to make Hold On St. Christopher. He's going to make Black Mariah. It's fine. They're fine songs. They're just disappointments. They're wastes of slots on Tom Waits' album when I wish he would be making more Cemetery Polkas. It's just a groove song.
You're not angry. You're just disappointed.
On both, actually. On both. I just hate songs where we hear like about the trouble caused by an eponymous starlet, and then we trace back how she wronged the men, and we close off with a final chorus that kind of, it's a yee-haw kind of song. I don't know. It's just, it stands as a flabby mess in the very lean, skeleton of Rain Dogs. I mean, I think we hear about the gin-soaked boy in it towards the end, which is a nice little tie to the trilogy, but it just doesn't really kind of, there's too much repetition. There's so long gone, he's long gone, he never coming home. It's just like, oh, okay.
To me, it's a bit more of like an upbeat version of things like Trouble Braids or even Jockey Full of Bourbon on the
Trouble's
same album.
Braids? Oh,
yeah, just the story of it, really. Just that sort of like the runaway the runaway miscreant.
Yeah.
Off with some gal. Very 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 similar to our film that we're going to be reviewing later.
Yeah.
It's one of the simplest songs on the album, and it sticks out for that reason. I do like the bit of slap guitar. It's is there a bit of banjo in the background as well?
I believe so. There's quite a lot of kind of outlaw country kind of affectations there. So yeah there's a few. It's
his closest flirt with country without going into his, as Hoskins calls it, his cerebral phase. It is a very, very, this is just a country song. There's nothing really to it, and if in that sense that annoys you, Tom, I can kind of sympathise a bit.
I like country music, I do, but I just don't. I just don't. I find this very repetitive.
I must say, in my youth as well, I was a little too ignorant to know that Alabama also has a Birmingham.
Yeah.
So I was thinking, oh my God, Tom Waits is singing a song about Birmingham.
Jesus Christ.
Oh, come on.
I would have thought that as a 9-year-old.
He sang about Singapore and Johnsburg.
Singapore. Okay, fair enough.
No, he's a big fan of the leather and chain making industry. That's why he loves the Midlands.
It's just kind of, it's got that chain gang sort of thing that I think Tom does better with, like cold water and
things that don't help this song. If you think it's a bit repetitive, like he buys a second-hand Nova, like, oh come on Tom, you've resisted talking about cars for a while now.
Yeah,
but I like how he buys it from a Cuban Chinese, and again Tom has this sort of flair for characters with mixed or mysterious origins, and it also sells the multicultural nature of New York as well. I feel it's again, it's just kind of basic. I think I like the song more than the sum of its parts.
Right.
Like, the overall, the result's kind of fun. It is just, again, kind of feels like filler. You could have made this album.
It's just the problem is, when you hear the chorus for the first time, you know what the chorus is going to sound like at the end of the song. There's no, like, a lot of Tom Waits songs go through these weird transformations where they become different things by the end, and that's really exciting to experience. But this just has generic rubber stamped all over it, I'm afraid, for me.
Well, then let's not dwell on it for too long. Then
from one generic song.
Oh no! I've just realised. Okay, so
I don't hate Union Square.
I hate the word hate. It's bandied around too lot. But to say that I loathe Union Square and think that it stands out as a song that doesn't belong on the album.
Yeah.
Tom says Keith Richards played on that. He plays that doghouse rhythm. It's just killer. And yeah, it does kill. It does kill the album in a way. It's got this weird. Just like, again, they don't feel like they meld. Richards doesn't feel like he belongs on this album. Mm-hmm. The brass on this song is fantastic. It feels very, very, very Tom Waitsy. Like he actually says in another interview for NME, he says, I was actually going to throw that song out. I said, call the dustman. This one's going to be chewing on the dead. But then someone said, let's throw something on there. And then they just added the Waits and they added all these little extra bits. And I was just like, oh God, do we need Keith Richards on another Rickenbacker just playing this overly aggressive, mediocre, kind of plain song, really? Like, it just doesn't, nothing stands out to me on this track at all. Like, it's just another heavy dirge, and it's, again, has that done on the night feel. I think there's a few kinks that could have been worked out before they put this to vinyl, really.
Yeah, I don't feel as strongly against it. I think it's quite enjoyable. It's not clear what Tom's saying a lot of the time, especially in this one. From reading the lyrics, what I've gathered, it's just a sort of portrait of a sort of small-time street hustler and stuff. But the problem is, anyone that's listened to Tom Waits has probably listened to Bruce Springsteen, and anyone that's listened to Bruce Springsteen has probably listened to Born in the USA. So therefore, you probably know the Bruce Springsteen song Going Down, where the chorus is literally I'm going down, 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 like a slightly slower version of this chorus, which Tom himself apes both in going downtown and then down, down, down on Swordfish. Like, there's a lot of down here, and
downtown on Heart Attack as well.
Yeah, and I mean, Downtown Train if you want to be an asshole, and Down in the Hole as well. But like, genuinely, songs where he repeats the word down in the chorus, there are many, and this is another one. So it just stinks of a little lack of invention to me. It's not bad. Like, I like that the song is in media res, sort of stuff. Like, it starts kind of as the song's starting. Keith is probably at his best when he's really catching up on the song and doing the kind of 12-bar blues thing, and kind of like running down and running off and throwing out notes here and there. But the chorus is so basic. It's so Heart Attack and Vine. I just want Tom to be like at a Calliope and just doing something weird. But there we are.
I do like it when it goes from downtown to a girl pulling her socks down. Like, that kind of fits the sleaziness of the track a bit. But again, you are right. It does put it back in that heavy Heart Attack and Vine era.
I do like some.
It's just, you know, the horns are great. It's got that Roaring Twenties thing again.
Some of the lyrics are about Sacco, basically the pimp guy that it follows, and I quite like the start of the final verse where it's like 4 a.m. on a Sunday. Sacco's drinking whiskey in church. Half-pint festival brandy. That boy's about to fall off his perch. Which is quite nice.
That's good.
But you wouldn't know that. Like, did you know those were the lyrics to that third verse? Like, the way Tom sings it, it's quite really hard to catch.
I always thought it was psycho drinker whiskey in chains.
Yes, you can hear whiskey. You'll always hear whiskey with clarity, but that's about it. There's not much to say on this that we haven't already said about Big Black Mariah. They are similar songs. Like, it's just, you know, they both got that repetitive chorus. They've both got Keith Richards not doing particularly too much. It's not a bad song.
It's Tom. It'd be like if I invited Paul McCartney over and did an album with him. I'm not going to say no to anything he says. Oh, yeah, I'll put it on. Cool. It's good. Let's not challenge that, and let's just slap it on side 3, disc 2, and just leave it there. And and I know. Let's put 2 of Richard's songs together.
Yeah,
and just show how he doesn't work in 2 different genres within a minute of each other.
Wow.
Blind Love, Waits says, is one of his first country songs. I like Merle Haggard, one of those other guys. They sound like they're just drinking tea and watching their weights and talking to their accountant. I think this one subscribes to that Roadhouse feel. This is more of a generic country song than, say, you know, a lot of his. Like we said on Gun Street Girl, he's not doing that so rural thing yet. Again, this is Rain Dogs. There's lots of different genres on this album. You mentioned Dead Flowers. This does feel very much like Dead Flowers. I do like Dead Flowers as well, and Blind Love. If I had to pick a Richard song off this album that I do like, it would be this one. It is less jarring, and it is the best solo he donates to the album as well.
It is, yeah. He's never been much of a kind of soloist. It's more just kind of like the garnish that he puts on top of the tracks that's really good. I don't mind this one. It's similar to Time. It's kind of... Gun Street Girl. It's got that kind of outlaw country ranch kind of thing to it, and it's Dead Flowers again is there, and there's nice sliding guitar in it. It's just a bit long, and like... Tom, unfortunately, is self-plagiarising, where in the chorus to Jersey Girl, it's kind of hard to replicate on just like the mic here, but like the way he kind of pushes out of the chorus into a sort of newer chorus, with you, sing na 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 na, the way he kind of builds out.
Only kind of love is true.
He does this.
He
does exactly the same melodic movement, and it's fine, but it's very obvious, or at least it was to me. And I've never been a fan of this song really, much prefer Jersey Girl, and this does feel like another sort of Springsteen-y kind of number that he'd sing towards the end of the night, him and his Stratocaster and Max Weinberg and Clarence Clemens and all that kind of stuff, and it's fine, but Tom is way better than this track. Keith Richards isn't way better than this track, and he does well on it. The slide guitar's lovely. I think he does some backing vocals as well, or there is some backing vocals in the right ear around the 2-minute mark.
I've heard that as well.
It shows Tom's versatility, but I think Tom could write this sort of song in a night. Like, this is something he would bang out easily. This doesn't feel like a challenge really for him. This feels like something Keith Richards again has maybe guided him towards. I don't know if this song was written, maybe they're all written and you just put numbers on it. It's not quite clear. There's a bit on it, but there's not too much to be found research wise. It's not bad. There's lots of weavy layers putting melody on top of each other. It's got a Stonesy feel.
The fiddle's nice because it's the first true string work we've been given since Tom parted ways with Bones Howe. And the fiddle kind of saves it almost, really, like, because without that it would literally just be bang, 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 and then like just nothing really. Again, Richards, I'm not gonna say, you know, you've ruined this album or anything.
No.
You know, it's just, good first attempt. I don't know. I can't wait to see you again on Bad As Me when you're all a bit older and a little bit more wiser.
I believe he's on Bone Machine.
Oh, okay.
I'll just double check that now. But yeah, no, I mean he does definitely return on Bad As Me, and it was fun to have him here. But it's no coincidence that the 3 songs he's on are 3 songs that we don't like.
Nah, it's totally a coincidence.
It's just like, you're all right, Keith. Like, there was a great Keith Richards quote that I saw on YouTube randomly that I really liked, where basically he was being interviewed about him and Ronnie Wood, who there's been many kind of like partners he's had in Rolling Stones, but Ronnie Wood's his current one. He's been there for like since the 70s from the Faces or something like that. I don't really know my Stones that well. Apologies. If you do, at TomWaitsPodcast, TomWaitsPodcast@gmail.com. He's being interviewed because there's two lead guitar players in Rolling Stones, and he's like, are you guys are you the best guitarist in the world? And he goes like, on my own, I'm nothing, but with him, we're better than anyone. And it's like, it is true. Like, there's that kind of sense of the two leads playing against each other, not soloing per se, but just anticipating what each other's doing and just building out a nice sound. And this song does that. Definitely, this song does that, but it just doesn't become anything beyond the curiosity and little forgotten treasure that it is. It's not something I'm going to put on a playlist to recommend or for personal enjoyment.
So you're saying it's not going to be in your song of the album then?
Definitely not. And Keith Richards, by the way, contributes both songwriting credits, guitar and vocals to the song That Feel off Bone Machine.
Oh, That Feel. What a great song.
Yeah, so I mean, he redeems himself slightly on Bone Machine. But we'll move forward, Sam. We're getting into the nitty-gritty of this album, as it were, getting pretty far into it now. So Walking Spanish, which if you are just listening to this album, this definitely does come as a bit of a, oh shit, this is kind of definitely got a nice pop to it, hasn't it?
He's got himself a homemade special. Again, great opening line. It's so good. Like that this song's instantly cool.
Yeah.
To walk in Spanish is to force someone to leave from a public place by lifting him by his coat or shirt collar into a walking position and then sort of propelling him out the door.
I got you.
So it's not quite Mo tossing a drunk, but more of like how a teacher might grab an unruly student. Yeah. And this is a great sort of. It's got a nice tune, and again those sort of jarringly dark lyrics. It might be a little too long for how repetitive it is, but the sax solo just comes out of nowhere.
That is John Lurie.
Again,
that is the
wicked.
Down by Law star, the guy who got me up Rabeau. Absolutely crazy, isn't it? The alto solo, huge, and just lumbering and just gorgeously, just abstract. I love it. It rises so well. It's
another great Waitsian character as well. You don't want to fuck with this guy. You know what I mean. He's not like a murderer.
He rolled the blade up in his trick towel, man.
That's great.
So
but he got himself a homemade special. The man has a gun, and then I'm going to turn this into one of the most interesting possible ways of just saying this.
And I love the way the drums build up as well to the second verse. Bum, 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 bum. Yeah, it's just Walking Spanish is a great title, and there's something about putting those two words together. I can't quite explain it, with any linguistic clarity, but just like the image just creates this moment of speed, doesn't it? And the song itself, just Tom's right there on the beat with you. It's a nice journey. It's one of the more fun kind of rockier tracks. It's probably, I'd put it better than Big Black Mariah and Union Square, I think.
In the promo tape sent to radio stations, Tom says, John Lurie played on that, like you say. He's a saxophone player and actor. Walking Spanish is an expression they use when you don't want to go somewhere. It's 5:30 in the morning and the baby just woke you up screaming and you drag yourself out of bed. You're walking Spanish. Somebody says, listen buddy, give me all your money, and your hand goes around back to your wallet. You're walking Spanish.
Damn.
You don't want to go. Walking the plank, basically. Walking Spanish is about walking the plank. And like you do feel like there's this sort of finality to this character's life in a way, like it's not going to end well, rather like walking the plank. But I tend not to get too focused in the words. It really, to me, it's that slap bass is a great boom boom boom.
It's got a really wet guitar on it as well. You can really hear the sort of guitar string. It's great.
It's a great sequel to Romeo is Bleeding. Really.
I love Romeo is Bleeding.
They do inhabit that exact same world of, because obviously Tom does have a lot of Spanish heritage through his dad, and just like the
wasn't
image
that Mexican?
Mexico and Spain are quite interlinked.
Okay, at Tom Waits Podcast.
Well, is Mexican? I don't think Mexicans speak Mexican. They speak Spanish, don't they?
I mean, yeah, I believe so. But
yeah, just the image of the Latino gangster does seem to appeal more to Tom now than say the noir gangster did. And just again that it updates it a little bit more, which I do like. This is a great song. His glass is full of sand is a great line. again, not the best song on the album, not the worst. I do like the last line is pretty evocative. Even Jesus wanted a little more time when he was walking Spanish down the hall, and again, it re-illustrates that
tip your hat to Pilate.
Yeah, it reinforces that finality of the song, really. Like you know where this is going. You know where you're going if you're walking Spanish, basically.
Yeah, I do love the invocation of Jesus at the end. It's a really nice way to pull it right to the present.
It ain't Jesus gonna be here.
It ain't chocolate Jesus either.
We've got two great Jesus songs coming.
Oh, they are
soon.
incredible. Yeah, they're beautiful, beautiful tracks. I think Walking Spanish is a success. Actually, it's definitely one of the better. It's kind of experimental. Definitely, John Lurie adds a little bit of weirdness to the end, but mostly it's quite a sort of standardy Tom song, and it's good. And I think before we move on to the stadium rocker of this album, I just want to read out the last bit of the Enemy interview by Gavin Martin, which has some quite funny stuff in it. So Gavin asks Tom, this is in 19th of October 1985, he says, "How would you like to be remembered?" And Tom says, "Jesus Christ, I'm 19 years old and you're asking me how I want to be remembered? On my gravestone, I want it to say, I told you I was sick." Achievement... which I don't think is his gag. I think that might be Spike Milligan's gag. I'm not sure. But anyway, achievement is for senators and scholars. At one time, I had ambitions, but I had them removed by a doctor in Buffalo. It started as a cyst. It grew under my arm, and I had to have new shirts made. It was awful, but I have them in a jar at home now. And then Gavin closes the interview with asking Tom, "Where would you like to live, Tom?" And Tom says, "Kansas. It's a good place to dream. You wake up in the morning, look out the window and don't see anything. You make it all up. I'd have a porch, a mean dog and a 12-gauge shotgun. You wouldn't throw your baseball into my yard, buddy. You'd never see it again." And
Tom, this is a lovely man.
He is. And with that evocation of America, as it were, mainstream America, Downtown Train, Sam.
Right, my dad's a massive Rod Stewart fan.
Does he love Rod Stewart's Downtown Train?
Yeah.
Oh, no way!
and he doesn't believe me that like the Waits version's better.
I see you tonight. Oh, the Rod Stewart version's awful.
There's ITV, which is Channel 3 in England. Basically, it's BBC One, BBC Two, ITV, the big contender.
Yeah.
A bit more of a working class channel.
I think that's fair.
And it has an audience with used to be one of its sort of standout shows. Like an audience with Billy Connolly is one of the sort of prototypical best British stand-up sets ever, really, because it's quite clean. And then you've got like an audience with Tommy Cooper, who was like a magician comedian, and then you'd have artists as well. And there was one which was an audience with Rod Stewart, and it's only like 2006, 2007, and he did Downtown Train, and I remember turning it off. I really didn't like it. I only really stayed to listen for "Stay With Me," which is he did with the Faces, and that's not a Rod Stewart track. That's a pretty good one.
Yeah, that's an early one. That one.
Waits has said that without sounding arrogant, because I think this statement coming from anyone else might seem really arrogant and douche, but he said like basically this was a sort of scientific approach to creating a pop song. Waits says, where's this from? Oh, this is from the CBC interview again. It's kind of a pop song or an attempt at a pop song. He laughs, la 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 la, and it's nice, it's quaint, it's got that sort of the hopefulness of the image of will I see you tonight. That's again to use the word you've just used, that invocation. He's asking the girl very much in the same way that he talks about going on the date with the girl in Jersey Girl. It's got those very definite images, but it is that sort of he is saying, yeah, I could be a ghostwriter for pop artists if I want. I could fill stadiums if I want to. But I don't have to. I'm giving you Rain Dogs instead. But like, don't worry. If you want me to do this and you don't like Rain Dogs, I can churn this out if you want. And it's still good. It's like he's like doing a dramatic irony thing where he's like, I could write you a pop song, but look how shit it is. It's like, no, I could do this and I'd be very comfortable doing it.
Yeah, you're completely right. It's a fantastic song. and it really works, and it really does feel like a song of that era. And part of me, when I listen to it, I'm like, why did Tom even do this? Like, it's a great song, and I'm glad it exists because I do love this song. But I'm like, what does he owe to anyone to release a song like this? I don't really know why he's doing this. Probably just like we were saying before, experimentation becomes its own form of boredom, so you need to just sometimes release some measure. And why not as well? It's a good song. He knew he had a good song on his hands. It's interesting just to consider this song before we get into the sort of composition of it. The band that he uses on this song specifically is very different. Pretty much every musician on this song, aside from one of the guitar players, is only on this song on the album.
Oh, really?
So we have G.E. Smith I don't know who these people are, by the way, but I mean, this is just the band themselves. We have G.E. Smith on guitar, Mickey Curry on drums, Tony Levin on bass, and then Robbie Kilgore on organ, and also that other guitar player who was on Singapore. I mentioned him earlier. I can't remember, Shepherd or something.
Kilgore? What?
Kilgore
What a fun name.
Troutman. So yeah, and that adds to it, doesn't it? This song, even though you could argue maybe "Hang Down Your Head" has a bit of down train in it, just sort of how it sounds. It's got that kind of like, pedal point guitar sort of thing. It doesn't it's interesting that his big song has a different band to the whole rest of the Rain Dogs, and it really doesn't represent Rain Dogs. But I think also just one quick thing as well before we get into it, just the Rod Stewart thing, just because it is kind of crazy that yet again, somewhat a beloved star of American music, an Eagles, a Rod Stewart, a Bette Midler, Jeff Buckley, whatever, they've recorded a Tom Waits song and got a big hit from it, which is great. It just tells you all you need to know, really. So anyway, Downtown Train, Rod Stewart, it became a number 3 hit after being released as a single. So it wasn't in
Major.
1989. But also because it's America are weird. They have adult charts and other charts. They don't just have a chart like we have in the UK. Because I guess obviously it's just so much more sales. It was also a number 1 single on the album rock and album contemporary charts. The song went to number 1 in Canada and made the top 10 on the UK single charts in 1990. Stewart received a Grammy nomination for the song in the category of Best Male Pop Vocal Performance. His cover also interestingly featured the slide guitar of Jeff Beck. I don't know if you know Jeff Beck.
Not. Hang on, he's not Beck.
No, he's not Beck. No.
What is Jeff Beck in a no, come on.
He's just like an accomplished British blues guitar player who's gone on to many other things. He's very experimental, accomplished. He's played with like Rod Stewart, The Faces, I believe he was in originally, and he's just does a lot of solo stuff as well. Did an excellent, absolutely, he's a gifted guitar player. He's beloved by so many people. He's one like a real guitar player. He did an excellent an instrumental cover of Day in the Life. Which is absolutely brilliant. You also did a cover of Ness and Dorma on.
Oh, I've got you've shown me that. Doesn't he do? He does a song with Imelda May as well on the same album.
Maybe.
Imelda May is a great sort of like 20s swing singer. She's great.
Okay, so this song, I do like this song. I mean, it is like horrendously Springsteen. In both in its evocation of trains and lost love, and just in the way the kind of chorus climbs out and the guitar's there. There's something about the linguistic nature of it that I really like. I like the way that he transitions in the second verse from the geographic to the emotional. So it's, I know your window and I know it's late. I know your stairs and your doorway. I really like that I know it's late amongst his descriptions of knowing like her places. It's really nice. It's written wonderfully. Again, I detect Kathleen there, but I really love the way those words are conceived. I walk down your street and past your gate. I stand by the light of the four-way. It's very accessible, isn't it? It's a very emotive kind of story that, whilst a departure in sound, it still has that signature kind of Tom sweetness to it, and a certain jagged sentimentality.
I do like the kind of almost tribal drums that's kind of build up towards the end of the song, like, and with that plucky guitar, and even Tom's like sort of really strained. Well, I see you tonight. Like, it really does put like a lump in your throat. Like, you do feel that. No, I don't think anyone can ever call Tom like disingenuous. Like, even if he is gonna sort of box himself into a generic pop song, he's still going to put his real emotion into it, and like, you can just imagine him thinking about Kathleen being on that downtown train, and it just does feel so relatable, especially for anyone. Like, I mean, who hasn't fallen in love for 30 seconds with someone they saw on the bus or the train? It's brilliant. It's hard to talk about since it is such a generic song in a sense. Like, he does avoid the sha-la-las this time. which is a better step for him, I do believe, in his sort of poppiness. He doesn't really do this again, does he?
No, it's similar to how Jersey Girl Shalalaz was a one-off concession. This is a similar kind of like, because you don't hear anything like this on Frank's Wild Years, you know, and you don't really hear anything like this on the Swordfish, which kind of furthers the argument that Rain Dogs is the kind of softest one of the trilogy, as it were,
and most accessible. Like
yeah. I mean, those go hand in hand, don't they? Really. And it has that. I do like the guitar a lot in here. I like the do 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 do. I think the VH1 version's a little better. The guitar's a bit more searching in that one, but this is a great version as well. And there's nice little kind of notes that are played under the like main chorus that just kind of strike out a nice emotional core to the song. Again, it's Tom is, you know, most openly depressed. Every night's the same. He's lonely. He's desiring someone. There's no one that he can see. Everyone he approaches to goes away like crows. You know, it's they're just fawns without the rose. There's a lot of negativity here. There's a lot of kind of earnest, emotional wrangling that isn't hidden behind the arcane metaphors of Rain Dogs. You know, it's filtered through.
Two things. One, did you use that crow reference in your Damn Good Crows article, which was was that the first article we did?
If you want to know about crows and Tom Waits songs, just go on the Down in the Hole blog. Yeah.
And I've just realised VH1 is your big time. You mentioned it probably as much as I mentioned big time.
Yeah, and I think we should just assure the listeners that we are going to spend individual albums on live albums. So Big Time, Glitter and Doom, VH1 Storytellers, maybe some others as well. We'll see. But
it's weird how Nighthawks at the Diner is quite canon in the sense that it's a live studio album, but it does fit because it is annoying on the Wikipedia discography of Tom Waits. It shows like his whole discography, and then you don't see.
Yes.
Nighthawks at the Diner. There, it's like, oh yeah, but it's not really like a live album. It's all new tracks.
It's like I wish before we die someone just finds this like rare bootleg video of Night. I'd love to see a video of Nighthawks, like what it looked like. Like,
why didn't they film it? It makes no sense whatsoever.
Apparently, I mean, I just heard this through the grapevine, i.e. Tom Waits forum, so don't count on it. But apparently, Glitter and Doom, which obviously was released as a live album only, all the tracks coming from all around the tour, which is such a good idea, which means they recorded a lot. And I've heard, because you can listen to it on YouTube, you can listen to the entire Atlanta show, where he does like Hang Down Your Head, which is a really good version. And there was talk on the forums of this becoming a live DVD, apparently. That's what they're going to do, which could be quite cool. So we'll definitely put that up. And if you listen to This Is the Future and that exists, then past Tom and Sam are so happy, so great. You know, that would be so good. But
we've watched it 10 times by now.
Yes. I love the final guitar, just to close up Downtown. Every night is just the same. And then the guitar kind of rising out of it. It's, you know, I think it's always stuck with me. I know your window and I know it's late. I know it's such a simple little line, but for some reason that's always gripped me. And I think Downtown Train was one of the first songs, like many people, one of the first songs that I latched onto and that I really liked and that I was not proud. I was never embarrassed to say I liked Tom Waits, but I just didn't know him that well, and I found it quite hard to get to know him. And I found this song was a really important stepping stone into Rain Dogs and then into the whole discography. I mean, do you place Downtown Drain highly, Sam, or is it more of a kind of oddity for you?
It's like it's one of the songs where like I know it's good and I know why it's there, but I don't particularly listen to it. No.
Yeah, and Bride of Rain Dog, then Sam, our penultimate track, which is obviously instrumental. Is that one you listen to, or?
Bride of Rain Dog is something I can't remember actually listening to this song before the time I listened to it in preparation for this podcast.
Okay.
And in the interviewer in Spin magazine asks him, "You've got a song called Bride of Rain Dog. Is that the dog that's following the dog that's supposed to know the way back?" And Tom says, "Yeah, the one with the hair that goes straight up, with the big blue eyes, the spiked collar, and the little short skirt and no underwear." Like Bride of Rain Dog is a weird animal, basically.
Yeah.
Very much like the instrumental montage on One from the Heart. It's split into kind of two songs in a sort of a day in the life kind of way. The second mini song is very Swordfish trombonesy, and you know Waits again is a great example of him insisting on bringing back instruments that people don't like anymore, and their ability to be totally appealingly unappealing. You know, it's such a unique offering that he gives, and you know how Good Night follows Revolution 9 on the White Album. It's very much like that. It is that sort of pull the rug out from under your feet thing. We've had Downtown Train, this very generic Springsteen-esque track, and now it's this cacophony of weird anti-music.
Yeah.
Like it's got a real drunk amateur band New Year's Eve feeling, but in a good way. I'm pretty indifferent towards it. You know, it is a Waits song that exists purely within the context of the album for me, rather than an actual track. What do you think of it, Tom?
Yeah, I agree, really. I think it's a little bit of an oddity. I mean, there's a reason I didn't put it on the best Tom Waits instrumentals, just because I don't think it has the quality that the 9 or 10 that I picked do possess.
It's better than Rainbirds.
I don't think it is, actually. I regret not putting Rainbirds on that list. I'm not sure what I would admit off the top of my head, but maybe Dragging a Dead Priest off Not Enough, but that is very good, but that has less of a melody than Rain Dogs.
It's obscure as well.
It's obscure, yeah. It's a nice, like, look what I know. You don't know a Night on Earth song, I do. But do check out Night on Earth, it's very good. But no, I think this is not as good as Rain Dogs. It's fun. Like you were saying, the placement did make me laugh, because if someone bought this album purely on the merit of Downtown Train, got in the car with the family, this guy, this Tom Waits, you remember Tom Waits? Like, I kind of know him, blah, 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 his new song's amazing. Track 17 straight away, fuck it, put it to the end, and then this comes out. It's interesting. It's called Bride of Rain Dog, because you can hear Rain Dogs, like the whole melody in Rain Dogs. I'm a rain dog too. You can kind of hear that in this. It incorporates a more drony approach to the music than we've heard before. It's got this kind of gentle thing, and then it fires off like an alarm, and then it's kind of gentle again, and it's a little bit filler maybe. It's not like Midtown's such an inventive instrumental. It's disappointing that this companion piece to Rain Dogs didn't demand a companion piece, but I guess it's the title track, whatever, build a theme, but it didn't feel too urgent to me or vital.
Well, I think Tom implies that perhaps this was the original opening to Rain Dog, and it was gonna, it would end, and then where the second part of the song comes in, it would go bum bum inside, and then it would go into Rain Dog. So, they do share that Cemetery Polka-esque family relationship. It is like, when people say, Tom Waits is a madman on a unicycle, and all these journalistic quotes to make it, because obviously everything's been said that ever exists about Tom Waits, so you keep having to say new things. But this is him in a sort of madman state, whereas Midtown was more like kind of just like frenetic energy. It still kind of had a structure to it. This is just all over the place in the best kind of sense. Like Ralph Carney's sax is like positively disturbing, and almost plays parodies of nice notes. It's like the saxophone's crying in this song.
Yeah.
And I love how Barney calls it the asthmatic harmonium.
Asthmatic. That's great.
It's delightfully unpleasant, isn't it?
It is. It isn't very inviting, really. So I think we should maybe move on. And this is the final track, which is
we've reviewed 18 songs, and we're well over the 3-hour mark now, aren't we? I dread to look.
Okay,
I dread to look.
So let's do it. Let's go into finally.
You like this song. I don't.
I love this Scarlett Johansson covered disaster piece of hers.
You promised me we'd never mention that Scarlett Johansson album on this podcast.
So, Anywhere I Lay My Head. Now we did speak about we try not to speak between ourselves before the podcast about the album, that is, but I mean occasionally whatever, you just want to talk to someone about it, listen to it so much, and we obviously took a week break as well, like Christmas break, whatever, so it's all good. But we were speaking recently just before we recorded today, and Sam said that what was it you said about Anywhere I Lay My Head, like just briefly your points on it?
I think a lot of it comes from, because every time I listen to the albums,
don't make excuses now. It's
for the podcast. I listen to it in order, and I feel that this album is it can be quite exhausting at times. And when you've heard all these great songs, I just feel that I have little time for this song's mediocrity. I feel that the similar whale that he will strain to greater lengths and achieve better on things like Train Song on Frank's Wild Years, and on the big time issue only track Falling Down. It's just like another Matilda-esque cityscape drifter, another certain sense of hopelessness in the wander. But whatever.
Whatever.
I like the trumpets. I like the trumpets,
but someone would say whatever to Anywhere I Lay My Head.
whatever.
This is an absolute classic in my eyes. Like I appreciate it. Like, when I first heard this song, I did laugh, like because his voice is quite comical. My head is a spinning. It's like what are you doing? But no, I genuinely feel like the emotion obviously is real. It feels dredged up from the depths. I love the images as well. It feels very biblical. The Thames on fire and hearts in shoes and the world's upside down, and there is this very apocalyptic feel to it. Whereas Rainbirds finished the album on a very somber note, and the guy drifting off this log to another adventure, Frank, presumably. This album is more just about the ideology of a rain dog, and a rain dog now has no home, because, you know, its home been washed away in the rain, it has no sense, so it has to, anywhere it lays its head is now its home. So this is kind of the Rain Dog song, really. This is the kind of summary of the ideology that all these kind of things share, whether they're animal or not, whatever they are, these people that are cast adrift. And I just love that. And I love the fact that behind this, there's no piano or drums at this point. There's just the glorious horn swells. It's like this ragged orchestra, like tuning up. It's just, you know, pockets full of gold, but the world's upside down, and just the tipsy-turvy way. I don't know how you can, like, say whatever to such, like, unbridled emotion.
I will say I've never given this song, you know, the most attention.
But you like Gun Street Girl, so it's cool.
Gun Street Girl's fun. This song's not that fun.
Oh my god!
I will say, upon re-listening to it, I honestly did not remember that the song shifts into that sort of swan song instrumental at the end.
The final third as well, so it's a decent chunk of the song actually, as it gears off towards like this really quite pleasant climax, even though it's quite bombastic.
And, you know, I think kind of comparing it to the real fanfare of Midtown as well, I feel like it's thrown in there to make the album not fizzle out as much as it possibly would have with this song. Genuinely, some songs in the Waits discography, like there are so many of these tracks, you know, some just won't gel.
I'm worried. This is an absolute anthem. And in my research to convince you otherwise, I made a list of, like, originally in my head I thought that it would be the best Tom Waits closer, but it's actually quite not. Actually, he's written many great closing songs, including "Coming Up to the House," "A Good Man Is Hard to Find," "Ruby's Arms," which I'm a big fan of. Certainly not "Once Upon a Town" / "Empty Pockets," but I Can't Wait to Get Off Work, and "Closing Time" as well, obviously. Yeah, I love the ravaged voice. I love the resonant melody. I love the sense of abandon and the dredging from the depths. He's tapped into a deep element of himself in this song. You really feel him coming undone. Like, we've heard Tom going mad before, Shore Leave, and many times throughout this album, both musically, creatively, and most importantly for his voice. But this is definitely the wildest Tom we've heard so far on tape, which is so exciting. Similar to how Midtown is touching new ground, so is Anywhere I Lay My Head. And whilst it might have its softer edges, I think Rain Dogs is just an absolute power stride in the right direction. It's unbelievable, really, and as a whole, it's the consistency just floors me. Even though there are some songs that I don't rate that highly, like Gun Street Girl and, you know, Union Square, or all of Keith Richards' appearances, really, I cannot write them off. Like, and as a 19 tracks, they're all kind of worthy to be there in a certain sense, and to be all produced by the same person, written by the same person, and just this great coterie of musicians around him. It's the album is just a wonder, really.
It really is.
You know, and unless there's anything you want to say on Anywhere I Lay My Head, but I mean,
yeah,
I know you're not too keen, so
I'm not too keen. I don't really like it. I you know, it's not the worst song on the album though. I just don't particularly like it. Now, would you like to discuss the album cover now, or the favourite song, least favourite song?
Yeah, I think we'll do the cover first. So it's worth someone pointed this out to us on Twitter, and I didn't realise this before, and I'm sure many people wouldn't have either. But that's not actually Tom on the cover. That person that looks like Tom, on sort of cuddled up in the rain in the waist of someone else. It's not. Basically, these people are two regulars of Cafe Le Mitz. I think I've said that right. Which is in Hamburg's Red Light Boulevard Reeperbahn. They're called Lily, who's the woman, and Rose is the man. The cafe no longer exists. It's said that it's been turned into a church. The picture is by Swedish photographer Anders Peterson. Peterson found the cafe in the late 1960s and spent most of his days and nights there over 3 years, photographing its clients clients, sailors and stokers from around the world, along with dockers, cab drivers. I mean, you can hear the Waits here, right? Prostitutes, striptease dancers, pimps, and many others who revelled in the underside of German society. When his impressive work of intimate yet disturbing portraits, Anders Petersen became one of the central figures of European photography. The picture itself is from his first book, which is called Café Le Mitz, which is published in 1978. The book has been republished in 2004. You can also find it in there. It's possible, this is what I found online, it says, quote, "It's possible that Waits may have seen a photo book or an exhibition by Anders Petersen when looking for an appropriate cover for the album Rain Dogs in 1985. The picture doesn't seem to represent the Rain Dogs album as a whole, but it might very well have been the inspiration for the song Rain Dogs itself. It sure is fascinating to see that Waits went to Hamburg in 1990 to work on the play The Black Rider with Robert Wilson and William Burroughs, only to return in 1992 for the play Alice. It might be Waits actually felt attracted to Hamburg City and its remarkable nightlife, mentioning places like Harry's Harbour Bazaar and the Reaper Barn, of course, in his songs."
The Reaper Barn. We'll obviously get to that on Alice, but there's a fantastic version on the what's it called? The Tom Waits, Tales from the Underground. That's it, where you hear sort of leaked demos and stuff, kind of like before leaked demos were kind of like, released every week.
I believe his car was broken into, and that's how they got the Alice demos and stuff. I believe so.
There was a similar tale for Band on the Run, wasn't there, when Paul McCartney got mugged and all the original demos for that album were stolen and they had to redo the whole thing.
Oh,
yeah,
right, crazy, didn't know that.
I love the album cover though. For Rain Dogs. It's
iconic, isn't it? It's very iconic.
Yeah, like just that woman laughing. Like, to me, that's the laugh at the start. That little bark, straight into Singapore. It has that sort of London town clash feel. Like a lot of the albums around that time had that.
Well, yeah, a lot of Elvis Presley covers as well have that same kind of, name along the top, album along the right hand side. They're different colours and they're bold, and yeah, a lot of things have that.
And then you've got the American version, which is yellow. The official one, and the English version, I believe, was in red.
Yes. I prefer the yellow.
Yes,
but
definitely. It's more street lighty, isn't it?
It is. Yeah, I love how. I mean, it doesn't. I've always thought it was Tom, but whatever, it's not Tom. But I always love the way the text kind of garishly comes across the woman's kind of snarling smile at the top right, and she's wearing this very vaudevillian checkered kind of like she's got a white floral kind of almost pirate-like kind of thing around, and her arms round him, and he's kind of got his eyes closed, looking off, and it's wonderful. You aren't aware that they're freaks or they just kind of look a little bit weird, but you're not aware that they are.
It's a more subtle version of the Swordfish Trombones cover, really, isn't it?
It's probably the best cover of the trilogy, I think.
The Frank Wilder's cover's terrible, but we'll get into that next week. That was Rain Dogs. Whew.
Well, I mean, almost. That was Rain Dogs.
Well,
I think we need to just close it off with our.
I was going to say, so we need to close it off with.
Yeah.
Tom, what's your favourite? You're going least favourite first.
We'll do least favourite first.
Yeah,
My least favourite song. This is difficult. Probably Gun Street Girl. Gun Street Girl. Yeah.
Well, it'll be an interesting episode with Bow Machine then. Once Danny finds out.
How can he think that a Gun Street Girl is better than Clap Hands or Diamonds and Gold or
Ask
Rain
him,
Dogs?
man.
What? It's just like. And this guy knows his weights. It's not like some ignorant kid just kind of like saying that he like. Okay, whatever. Sorry, your least favourite song, so.
Just to say, Danny's never listened to Orphans, so he's not a complete aficionado. He's never listened to Orphans. He doesn't know army ants or what keeps mankind alive. He doesn't know. But my least favourite song is going to be Bride of Rain Dog, purely because it can only exist on the album and it's completely unrecommendable.
Yep. And your favourite?
This has been so difficult. I've got 19 songs to like choose from, and only a couple of them are like objectively wrong answers. Like how like in an English essay, it's not about the right answer; it's how you write your argument, and it's very much like that. And for that reason, the song that I can defend the most and say I love the most is Cemetery Polka.
Wow,
I love Cemetery Polka, and this being my favourite song was spurred somewhat by this great live version I've seen.
Oh yeah, it's amazing. It's definitely worth seeking out. Just Cemetery Polka live in YouTube, and it'll be probably the first one.
It's the top one.
It's a tough decision. Hang Down Your Head. I'm going to go Hang Down Your Head.
Because just to make a distinction, are we saying favourite song is the best song on the album, or is it our personal favourite?
I think.
Yeah, it's definitely Cemetery Polka then. Yeah.
So. I think just before we hop off Rain Dogs, just a final little anecdote from Mark Ribot. that I found online, which is quite interesting because they didn't tour much. Very, very little actually, but they did do a few dates, including what was very cool, an entire week in London, in the West End. In 1985, and I remember reading in the Barney book, I'm quoting this from memory, so I can't really, I should just get it off my shelf, but whatever. I remember hearing that when Tom was playing on this tour, he had a TV on stage. He set the stage up like a living room at times, and he had a TV that actually worked, and he was playing on a Saturday night, and he turned it on the TV as part of his act or something, and he said, like, what do you want me to put on? And someone asked for Match of the Day, and they put on Match of the Day, which in England, if anyone, is a collection every Saturday night and every weekend, really. It's highlights from the big football games of the day, so it's pretty cool that you put that on. So anyway,
soccer,
Mark Ribot. This is in 1999 to Mojo magazine. He's recalling the tour. He says, the first tour was really brilliant. We did an entire week in London at its West End Theatre at the beginning of the tour, and it was intensely creative, but one which also drove us crazy, because Tom never had a set list. Normally, if you're playing a small club, you can get by without a set list, but Tom changed it every single night. He was playing these fairly large theatres like he was playing in a tiny bar. We'd rehearse intensely every day rather than soundcheck. I think Greg Cohen may have had a talk with him, because on the second tour, we more or less stuck to a set list. On the first tour, there were a lot of brilliant mistakes because of that. You don't quite know what to expect. Everyone gets stressed out on tours. On the Rain Dogs tour, he didn't really know whether people would like his new direction, so he was really driving himself hard, putting a lot of pressure on himself, productive pressure that went into perfecting the music, but it was fun. We were all in the bus together, we hung out and talked about music. He was a good geezer, though, contrary to public perception. Tom is kind of shy, which we've obviously heard quite a few times before. He's not a big one for partying after gigs. He'd go up to his hotel room pretty fast, but I think he did enough of the rock star thing for several lifetimes. The public image was well earned a while ago. He's got kids now, and he really cares about. And beyond that, I have to say that Waits is one of the most private people I've ever met. So the question, what is Tom Waits like, must go unanswered. So nice from Mark. But I think just dwelling on Rain Dogs as a whole, is it the best album we've reviewed so far, Sam?
So far, it's quite easy to say yes. I think Tom's later period is packed with more comparable albums, like, ooh, is Blood Money better than Real Gone? Ooh, is Real Gone better than Bad As Me? I think Mule Variations is normally one or two in people's sort of later phase list. But yeah, especially in terms of the Frank trilogy, Swordfish is definitely the more okay, this is different. And then Frank's Wild Years is more of just like a club thing, really. It doesn't really have its own identity as much.
No.
This one is just the most accessibly fun, really.
Yeah, and it just does have an incredible batch of songs. Tom didn't have to make this album a 19-1. Even though the songs are short, they are packed with things. So you wouldn't feel shortchanged if it was a 15-song album or even a 13-song album. Definitely. I mean, his earlier albums have longer songs and they're more traditional songs, but this is more worth the money if you're going to put it in such gross terms. But yeah, Tom could have trimmed this, made it even better, but he didn't. He put all he had into this album, and it's a real remarkable piece of work, and we've kind of slated parts of it and praised parts of it, but altogether it's a real incredible thing that someone could put out, and for someone to put out similar and even better quality albums later and early in his career is incredible. Tom Waits does it again, really, for us, and this is one of our favourites.
One thing that is typical of Rain Dogs is that there's Tom Waits all over it. Tom is in every facet of the film. Sorry, of the album. Speaking of films, welcome to Real Gone.
Here we go.
The bit where we talk about films with Tom Waits.
If you've listened this long, so you've been listening for 3 hours now about us reviewing Tom Waits, and now more Tom Waits. This is a segment where we review films. In the past, we've done Dracula and Down by Law and stuff like that. Anything Tom Waits has been in. And this week, unfortunately, I haven't had the chance to see this week's film, this Francis Ford Coppola's The Cotton Club. I'm starting a new podcast on my own. More details on that next episode, maybe. And then I'm also going to be on a podcast, Love That Album, which is a podcast we've mentioned before. Great podcast by this guy called Morris, Australian podcast. He's kind of like us, but he just reviews an album rather than all of one artist. He has done Tom Waits, so he did Heart of Saturday Night and Rain Dogs. He's a big fan. He's a great guy. And I'm going to go on his podcast. First speak about Joe Jackson's Heaven and Hell, and then speak about Gillian Welch's Harrow and the Harvest.
Harrow and the Harvest, good God, that's a fantastic album.
Which, weirdly, me and Morris both realised both have the initials H and H, which is quite weird. Heaven and Hell, Harrow and Harvest. I mean, that's just an odd coincidence, perhaps. But what was I saying anyway about Morris and
Oh, yeah, you haven't had time to watch this.
I haven't. Yeah, sorry.
Because you've been fanning about working on things that aren't the podcast.
Exactly. I've been dilly-dallying. So
hopefully, I'm going to be announcing a podcast in a couple of episodes' time as well.
That's very exciting. Yeah, see, the group aren't breaking up. We're just expanding really because
Lennon did How I Won the War, and Paul was judging beauty talents.
Was he?
Yeah. Like he judged a lot of beauty contests and stuff.
What a legend.
So.
I need you to do it right now, because I can't wait.
Listen, if you take this man for your lawful wedded husband, you're crazier than he is.
Sugar, would you just spare?
Furthermore, ain't no women allowed. What are you doing in here?
Well, we should bend the rules. Don't bend no rules.
Why not no women?
Why not no women allowed? Because this is the Hoofers Club. Hoofers. I'll show you what I'm talking about.
It's going to be something, baby.
This is what you do. Give me a little music, eh?
All right. Show 'em out. You're right there. You got it, Bob. You've been doing it for years. All beat them, boy.
The Cotton Club is the 14th film by Francis Ford Coppola, or Francis Erratically Good Director Coppola, and it's his third since Mega Bomb, One from the Heart.
See previous.
So as we know, studios stopped trusting directors after things like Michael Cimino's Heaven's Gate and films like One from the Heart, and to some degree Steven Spielberg's 1941.
Yes.
Just these big, just throw budget at the script and it'll work. This time Coppola has to do again cheap films, but rather than say do small projects like Rumblefish, which are cheap and are executed perfectly, like there are some great visuals in that film. Instead, what we have is a rather cheap sort of Godfather rip-off kind of look into the glitz and glamour and grime, particularly of Harlem in the 1920s, and it all convenes at the titular Cotton Club, where all of our characters are trying to get in and hit the big time. Sorry, I've said it again. We mostly follow the misadventures of pianist / trumpeter / really boring actor Richard Gere,
who does his own solos, I believe, his own musical solos.
Yeah,
cornet he plays.
He's a better singer than I imagined as well.
Oh, right. Okay.
And then he gets roped up with the affairs of the notorious crime boss bootlegger, the Dutch. And of course, there's a flirtatious mole who Dutch has feelings for. Have you ever seen Some Like It Hot?
I haven't, no.
It feels like Some Like It Hot, like the idea of like a musician gets roped up with a Marilyn Monroe-esque caper and he's running away from gangsters. It's the exact same story. But you know how Coppola just like he can direct the fuck out of a movie, but he can't write for shit. He's like Neil Blomkamp in a sense. He is the Neil Blomkamp of the Brat Pack. This film is kind of forced. It has a been there, done that feel. We know exactly where it's going to go with these romantic leads. It's full of noir stereotypes to the point where I can't tell if it's homage or just borrowing other people's used trash. We have light coming in through the Venetian blinds, drive-bys with Tommy guns, and we even have the spinning newspaper headline transition. Yeah, we do.
Oh my god!
What we do have is some
sorry,
great...
can we just get the Simpsons referencing because we haven't had one yet?
We have.
Have we?
We have. I talked about Sideshow Bob.
Oh, you did. I'm sorry. I just remember there was a spinning newspaper, and the headline was "Spinning newspaper hurts many," which was great. But yeah, where's Tom in this?
Well, you know what? I actually get to that later.
Okay.
I've got this all written out. It's very intentional.
Oh right.
What we did get is some
it,
great
so.
early performances from Lawrence Fishburne, Nick Cage, Bob Hoskins is really badass as the owner of the Cotton Club. Though I kind of thought Tom could have been good in this role. Like, you know, I want to see more of him. While it's certainly nowhere near as dull as One from the Heart, Coppola's scripts during this period failed to make a lot of characters pop. The singing and dancing's great. The actual Cotton Club itself looks like a pretty fun place to be, and the dance numbers are all good. The music has that great Midtown-esque pizzazz, jive, and energy. It's just a shame that's, you know, it's the only non-Hoskins based source of fun in the film. And there's also a woman who does a impression of a trumpet with her mouth. It's the best thing I've ever seen. It's just fantastic. Now, you may be wondering why I'm avoiding talking about Tom Waits here, and that's simply because he's barely in the movie. Like, Terrence Malick levels of cutting room floor.
Okay.
Quite famously, Adrian Brody was meant to be the lead in The Thin Red Line, the Terrence Malick World War II war film, and then when the premiere came out, basically he's in it for 2 scenes with 3 lines of dialogue. Waits plays Mr. Stark, no link to the Avengers, thankfully. And it's a rather silent role for Tom. Like,
oh, really?
He's in it for 10-second bursts. He's just the guy who arranges the shows. He's like, "You're up."
Okay.
Or like, "You pass, kid. See you next week."
Yeah. See you next scene. Yeah.
Yeah, and it's he does have like a very slick look. His hair's really slicked back, and he does look like a Frank Wild Years type character.
It's nice that Coppola's still working with him after One from the Heart, and Coppola assigns no blame.
Coppola, give Tom a bigger role, please. We all know the time monologue from Rumblefish is the best bit of the film. We all know it.
Well, maybe the bit where Mickey Rourke uses a motorcycle as like a missile is pretty incredible. But
I keep forgetting about that.
That's one of the greatest scenes of the 1980 cinema. It's an incredible moment. If you know Mickey Rourke.
It does just come out of nowhere. Honestly, we do recommend Rumblefish, and we don't hate on Coppola, but sadly, Tom Waits is not in the conversation.
Is there any more Coppola with Tom Waits? Have we done it all now? It seems like Rumblefish, One from the Heart, Cotton Club. It must be the end.
No, Tom Waits is in Francis Ford Coppola's one of his worst films, Twixt.
Oh, he's in that. Oh God.
You know that film with Elle Fanning and green screen. Hang on, who does he play? Oh, the narrator. He's just the narrator.
Okay.
That could be interesting for something off Orphans when we're just not going to have time to do an in-depth real gone review.
Well, I think...
this film's very bland. It's predictable. The only bit that was shocking to me was you know how gangsters always have these meetings where they have to pretend to like each other and stuff. Like it's a truce, Jim. It's a truce. It's basically like there's a quite a tacked on sort of like racism subplot to a lot of this, and I think the Dutch is kind of like a Jewish descent character, and one of the mob bosses is just talking about how much he hates Jewish people, and basically the Dutch just grabs a knife from a cake and just starts stabbing the guy. I'm like, yeah, I've never actually seen that before. You know, the mob boss is killing another mob boss. That's quite cool. And like the blood spurts from his artery and it hits the chandelier and drips from the chandelier onto the mole's face. And bad Coppola films have lots of these little moments where you think, oh, he's going to bring it back, and then he never does. And
it's crazy, really. The guy who made Godfather 2.
It falls flat, yeah.
Could make such tripe.
I loved the conversation. The conversation's a fantastic movie, and like, you know, we can't forget Apocalypse Now. No. But it's just a shame that Tom only met this guy during his sort of shit phase. Really, there's no other way of putting it.
No.
Imagine if Tom was in Apocalypse Now.
Yeah, that would be something. But unfortunately, that didn't happen.
He's not.
No, but Frank's Wild Years did. And that's what Tom. And
the Cotton Club did, unfortunately, as well.
Yeah, Coppola continued to make movies, sadly. But I think that's about it, Sam. I think we've kind of wrapped it up.
Oh, well,
it's been a long one.
It's over 3.5 hours.
Yeah.
Well, you'll probably trim that down in the final edit. But yeah, this has been so fun.
Yeah, thank you so much for listening, everyone. For one final time, you can get in contact with us. Anything you want, would happily read out your emails. Happy to get in touch with at TomWaitsPodcast.
We do get in contact with it. We do reply to every email.
Yeah, of course. So it's TomWaitsPodcast@gmail.com, and then obviously the blog as well. If you want to see the crows, if you want to see what the fuck, if you want to see the instrumentals we mentioned for the Midtown thing, then that is TomWaitsPodcast.wordpress.com. I've been Tom.
I've been Sam.
And he's been Tom Waits. And thank you so much for listening. And we'll see you in 2 weeks. We'll see you with Frank's Wild Years. Until then, have a good one.
The end of the trilogy.
The end of the trilogy ends, man. And unlike Coppola's Godfather, I think this one does actually end quite
on a high note.
Quite well. So until next time, guys. See you later.
Doing good.
Who are these people on the front?
Well, they're from Hamburg. It's his name, I believe, is Rosa Crucian, and her name's Lily, and it's from a place in Hamburg, a bar in Hamburg.
Just folks who hang out in Hamburg.
Just plain folks.
We're going to do a commercial, and then you're going to play us off the air. Is that all right with you, Tom?
I'll play out of town.
All right, great to see you again. We'll be back. Tom is going to play us off the air. I want to thank everybody who was here tonight. Of course, our wonderful studio audience, Mary Tyler Moore, Bill and Paul and the band. Of course, Sid McGuinness, Will Lee, Charlie Drayton, and David Sanborn again. Thank you, gentlemen. Tom, let me ask you a question. Tom, can you hear this?
Yeah, I hear it.
Does that put you in the mind of fairies?
Yeah, it has a kind of Disney.
Okay. Monday on this program, and I'm still not sure this is our show, Billy Crystal will be here and Gene Hackman. And now, folks, playing from the album Tom Waits' Rain Dogs, we're going to hear Time, right, Tom?
Okay, we'll try that one.
Okay. Have a nice weekend. Good night.